tell people alma mater means mother. And that's what these
That's right.
HBCUs have been. These HBCUs have been mothers to people whose mother couldn't do that. And it's time for us to take care of our mothers. And I do feel like at some point we got to realize that Superman's not coming to save us and that we've got to save our own. And these schools, all 107 of them.
Good evening, Scouts. Welcome again to another episode of Local Lookout with Bobby and Rodney. I am your host, Bobby Fryer. Rodney Butler is the co-host of the show, and we want to welcome you this evening. Rodney, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, brother. Glad to be in Black History Month. We know that, or at least word on the street is that they're not going to celebrate Black History Month or recognize it or whatever at the federal level, I guess, this year and maybe a few years to come. But otherwise, man, glad it's February, brother.
Well, they can't take it. We don't need their permission to have Black History Month. Black History Month is every day. Black History Year, Black History Day. They can't stop us from celebrating it. So I hear you. But we're going to celebrate Black History Month every day. Hey, not just in February, every day.
Hey, we've been doing it that's the way we've been doing it anyway. So
that's right.
Yep. All right, Bobby, what we got today, man?
Well, listen, today we have our first special guest is my daughter, my wonderful daughter, Jade Fryer. We will be talking to her. Okay, here we go. We'll be talking to her to get her thoughts on some things that's happening, current events going on in the world today, and just about her experiences. So to my wonderful daughter, hello, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your career choice without mentioning.
She's going to be doing our Millennial Minute today, right?
Yes, she is our Millennial Minute. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Yes, she is our Millennial Minute guest today. We want to talk to you just about your career choice briefly without mentioning your employer for the sake of privacy. So my wonderful daughter, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. And thank you for having me too this evening. Hello, everyone. I'm Jade Fryer. I am an alum of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, where I graduated with my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and with my Master of Business Administration with a concentration in marketing. And I'm a graphic designer by both career and side hustle. Been designing for about 10 years. Officially started my business around sophomore year of college. You know, people would come to me for party flyers, logos. Everybody was trying to start a business in college. So I figured, why not start making some money? And that's when I became an entrepreneur.
That's correct. Now you didn't mention one thing that's very important. What did you graduate with? You graduated with honors. Speak on it.
I did graduate summa cum laude. I did. Mm-hmm. And I did our 5-year MBA program through the School of Business and Industry. And so I was able to go through 5 straight years and graduate with both of those degrees. So you'll see them behind me right there.
That's right. There you go. Very, very proud of her and her academic success. She just carried on from high school all the way through college. She took her education seriously. So it's ironic we have her on this month. Last month, we had a young lady on named Elizabeth Allen, a.k.a. Lizzie, whom you know very well. So if you want to briefly speak about Miss Elizabeth Allen and the things that she's doing, you may.
Yes. So I call her Liz. Everybody else calls her Lizzie, but I call her Liz. Liz is one of my best friends, my sister. Super, super proud of her and where she is. She's currently in film school at Florida State. And she's been making some short films. They've been amazing. I got to star in one. I made my debut. So shout out to Liz. I hope y'all had a good conversation. I haven't been able to watch it yet.
Thank you very much. And you are a part of a wonderful D9 organization. Would you like to share which one you are a part of?
Yes, the arguably most important D9 organization, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to my sorors.
Absolutely. So you really didn't have a choice, considering that the person that brought you into this world is also a member of your sorority. So we say that jokingly.
But I made the right choice.
Okay, absolutely, sweetie, absolutely. So good to hear that. So I wanted to briefly move into some of the things that we got going on currently in the world today. I think it's important that we get millennials, even though you're technically not a millennial. I just want to make sure that our youth, our 20-year-olds, are able to share their thoughts and experiences about what's going on today. So last week, the felon, he froze federal funding for grants and loans. A second federal judge has blocked this from being implemented. HBCUs would be largely impacted, absolutely more so than PWIs, but the impact will be felt amongst everyone should this go through. How did attending an HBCU prepare you for corporate America? Share your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I mentioned before, I'm a Rattler. I attended FAMU through the School of Business and Industry. And because my major was so broad, it was business administration. I learned a little bit of everything. I got to learn about finance, accounting, marketing, management, supply chain. And I feel like that's what separates HBCUs, and I can speak for FAMU specifically, is the level of care and preparation that is baked into the curriculum for our students. We were required to take literal professional development courses every semester where we would learn about interview prep and techniques, resume building, how to dress professionally. We were required to wear suits and heels almost weekly in Florida weather, might I add. How to properly ask questions, and smaller cohorts and classes at HBCUs means more personal connections with your professors and your classmates. I was actually in a program my freshman year called Living Learning Communities, where everyone on my floor had the same class schedule. We would study together, we would help each other, we would do activities outside of classes. And it really helped me coming from Georgia. I didn't know anybody that was going to FAM at the time. So it helped me with my sense of community. I made friends that to this day I still keep up with and I'm really close with, including my roommate. So going back to the School of Business and Industry, we got so many job opportunities just because of the reputation of our business school and the relationships that the school had. And there would be on-site interviews and corporate guests very often, and we were taught how to stand out in a room full of people. And I saw it come to life in a lot of different ways just through my peers and myself. So HBCUs are very important for our community. Not only do the schools receive government funding, but I don't know many students who weren't at school without some sort of funding or a loan or something like that. So that's going to be a big hit should it be implemented, for sure.
Absolutely. And what tailors right into that is my next question, which is about Be Out Day, which is by Friends of FAMU. You want to go ahead and talk about that, how important that is, since it may be impacted by what's happening right now in the federal government?
Sure, yeah. So Friends of Fam is the organization that puts on Be Out Day. It's a nonprofit organization started by a literal group of friends who went to FAMU and are from Atlanta. And the goal is to give back to students also from Atlanta, also going to FAMU. It's a scholarship and a mentorship program. And I was actually the recipient the first 2 years since its inception. So I knew when I graduated and came back to Atlanta, I wanted to give back in the same way that Friends of Fam gave back to me. Because without Friends of Fam, I would have had to take out a lot more money in loans. So shout out to them. But Be Out Day is the annual event that we put on. And it's really just a day for you to be outside with your friends, with your family. It's kind of like a mini homecoming almost. It's gotten bigger over the years. Last year we gave out a little over $80,000 in scholarship. But Be Out Day, there's food, there's music, there's vendors, there's field day games, performances. Like I said, we're growing every year, and I'm super proud and grateful that I'm able to give back and pour into students the same way my mentors and those people poured into me while I was in school. So we're trying to help close that gap. I know if loans were taken away, I don't know many people who have $100,000 to just throw for education. So we're trying to help students in any way we can.
Absolutely. And one other thing that should be noted is that there is a bill being introduced in Congress that would actually tax you on scholarships that's being introduced and proposed right now, where scholarship recipients would be taxed on the amount that they receive in scholarships. So that's something else that people need to be aware of that's being introduced on the floor. So this leads to my final question. And again, Rodney, I want you to be able to chime in and ask whatever that you want as well on this topic. But what are your thoughts about the direction of the country today? I mean, what changes do you think need to happen? I mean, we kind of laid out a few things here now, but what are your thoughts about what's happening currently in the country?
Well, there's a lot of things happening right now. I feel like every day I wake up, something new is going on. And I'll say this, it's something very sinister um about the current administration, about all the things that are being implemented or being attempted to be implemented. Um I know fear is really the exact reaction that they're looking for, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared about what our future might look like. But it's hard when you log into social media, you see the news, you wake up and every day there's something that's being taken away, there's something that's potentially going to impact us right now or in the future, indirectly or directly. I just feel like there are some really dangerous people in power right now, and to be honest, I'm not sure how we can change that. And I can't say I'm surprised by anything that's going on. And really, none of us should be. They told us exactly what was going to happen. Some people just either didn't listen or didn't care. I don't know, but it's just scary right now. All the things that they have the power to do and are trying to get the power to do. So that's my take on that. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for our mental health. It's hard for when you think about our generation having children. Like, is this what I want to bring children into? Like, we have to think about stuff like that. So
Absolutely. I think your voices need to be heard, and we're just trying to allow you an outlet on something such as this to get it out there on what our millennials or our recent college graduates who are just new to whether it be corporate America or into the private sector, just so people can know what you all are thinking at this moment in time. And we've had a lot going on in just a couple of weeks, really. So I want to thank you for that perspective. But I don't want to be the only one asking questions. Rodney, share your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. I was just going to, well, Jade already kind of hit in it a little bit. But my question, anytime I get an opportunity to talk to millennials, but especially centennials, is, Jade, your dad and I, when we were 20, we pretty much kind of knew, exactly kind of where we wanted to be or where we believe that we would be, at 40 or 45 years old. We kind of, we kind of knew that. And my question to you, and is also a concern, is when it comes down to yourself and your friends, and I want you to think about those friends who maybe have not had some of the academic success that maybe you've had, but also those who have, right? And my question is, how do you guys see yourself, or how do you feel? Is there trepidation about, when you're 40 or when you're 45? I know to you guys sometimes like, what? It's like, that's 100 years away. But, what do you guys feel about, 20, 25 years from now, as far as where you think that you will be sitting in life?
that's a good question. And I'll say I hung around a lot of smart people, so I don't have many friends who didn't achieve um, academically. But I'll say like a lot of us kind of think short term because everything that's going on right now is just so scary and like I hate to be morbid. I don't want to be morbid, but like a lot of people think, and I'm not saying I think this, but a lot of people think that we're not 20, 40, 60 years from now, the world is ending. A lot of
Oh,
people have
wow.
that perspective and kind of think short term, like, let me just get through these 5, 10 years. So,
Yeah.
um, I hate for that to be the mindset that we as a generation have. But it's just realistic right now. Like, we're just trying to get through what's going on now, and especially these next 4 years. Maybe it won't be 4 years, who knows? But a lot of us just think in the present. I say I can speak for myself when I say in 20, 40 years, I would love to be in a place where I've accomplished a lot of the things that I've, grown up dreaming about, like marriage, kids, successful in my career, nice house, nice car, all the things that people dream about.
Yeah.
I definitely see that for myself, but I don't know. When I talk to my friends, we don't really talk about 20, 40 years from now.
Yeah. And look, don't feel any kind of way, bad or anything. That is the typical answer that I get, from millennials and centennials is that, and I think that some of the things your dad talked about prior to, me asking you the question is, the current administration, some of the political landscape of the past, well, since you guys have been born, has basically been, one of those that is very uncertain. People are just kind of doing whatever it is they want to do. So it's very difficult. And I think it's a little sad that, that you guys primarily plan for. It's almost like you're planning for the next crazy event. It's like, well, we'll go 3 or 4 or 5 years. That's about as far as we're going. And it just goes to show how times have really, really changed in 30 years. And it's just not even 30 years is not long at all. And when you look at the grand scheme of, how long the country been around. So anyway, Jade, appreciate it. And so glad that you are on and did our Millennial Minute. And we probably look forward to you being back on to do another Millennial Minute, even though you're not quite a millennial, but but whatever.
Maybe I can come back when I am when I'm old enough. I don't know.
Well,
Thank
sweetie,
you for having me. I appreciate it.
yes, thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time this evening. Of course, we'll talk more later, but outstanding job. Thank you. I'm proud of you. And for everybody that doesn't know, I also have a older son, a younger son as well. My oldest son is a senior in college as well, and he's headed down the same path that my daughter has laid. So excellent grades, he's doing well, and he just crossed as a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated as well. So we'll have him on later on. But thank you, sweetie. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So thank you to my daughter for our Millennial Minute and her sharing her thoughts. Really appreciate that. Rodney, again, thank you for those questions as well that you gave to her. Some something to ponder and think about.
And it's really, man, I mean, I've asked that question, Bobby, to millennials and centennials probably, probably, I don't know, man, 20 times. And the answer is pretty much the same.
Consistent.
And that's, it's amazing how we were able to, see ourselves at 40 and 45 years old when we were older teenagers or younger, younger in our young 20s. And they just don't have that luxury because of the way the world is. And it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. But we are failing them, I believe, as adults. Now, there are those of us, obviously, that are doing our part. I would absolutely include yourself as well as our next guest who will be coming on. We're just doing our part. Yeah. But I when I say I think we're failing our millennials is that we're not speaking up enough, I don't think, at times, to be a solid foundation. So we have to collaborate together and let them know that there are those of us out here that really care about them, that are concerned about the future of the country, and that really see them as valuable to this country moving forward. So, I just want to make sure we share that.
And also just trying to be the future that, trying to be what they need to see as far as their own future. That's right. The best thing that we can give, the millennials and the centennials is to be that example. And so, and Bobby, you're doing it. Most of the people that we know are doing it, and we just got to keep doing it and hopefully, keep our fingers crossed, man. And hopefully they start to feel a little bit better, about the outlook of the world, about the outlook of their own future. So, yeah. And I know our next guest is going to help solidify that.
Absolutely. So without any further hesitation, our next guest is Miss Carolyn Hill. She is representing the 5 Strong Foundation. I want to welcome Carolyn in. Carolyn, thank you for your time this evening. How are you?
I am good, and thank you guys for having me. What a
Absolutely.
stirring conversation with your daughter, and it really kind of solidifies the work that Five Strong is doing. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll get right into it. Carolyn is representing again the Five Strong Foundation. They are a nonprofit organization. Carolyn, I'll let you do the introduction about it, and I have some questions that I'll ask you so that everyone else can be familiar with how great Five Strong is doing and the outstanding work they're doing in the community.
Awesome, and again, thank you guys for having me. As the program director for Five Strong Scholarship, it has just been a pleasure to be a part of this organization. I actually started out as a volunteer, and after seeing the work that this organization did, I knew I needed to be a part of it. So, just to give you a little bit of background about Five Strong, we are a nonprofit 501c organization that partners with a select group of HBCUs to secure full tuition scholarships for our scholars. Our founder, Mr. Andrew Ragland, was a counselor for Atlanta Public School System for about 12 years. And he would help students prepare to interview for an organization called Posse. Posse is an organization for PWI that actually does what we do, and that's really where he got the idea to do it. And so, after seeing his students prepare for Posse, he thought, well, no one's doing this for HBCUs, and so that's really how it got started. And again, what we do is we partner with HBCUs to help them increase their retention rate and their graduation rate. And we do that by being an extension of their recruiting department. So, what we do is when we recruit our students, we are actually taking those students and we are preparing them. Because our commitment to our HBCUs is that we're going to give you students that are ready from day one. And so the entire purpose of Five Strong is to provide support. So when I heard Jay talking about going off to FAMU by herself and didn't know anybody, it just really spoke to our core values. We send students off in cohorts of 5. Some schools a little bit more because we've really done a great job in recruiting. And so we understand a lot of students leave school for lack of support, be it emotional, financial. And that's why we actually understand that if a student goes off to college with other like minded students, they're more apt to succeed. So our program is really about making sure that when those students get to those HBCU campuses, not only are they prepared to succeed academically, but socially. So this is our 10th year. We're super excited about it. We've got a really good, a lot of things planned for this year, but we are just excited to continue to have the ability to support our communities.
Thank you. Can you share with the audience about how the name Five Strong came about and the schools that were originally the ones that started?
Absolutely. So with Posse, what they would do is they would actually ask for their PWIs to give them 10 scholarships. Well, because we realize that our HBCUs are underfunded and often don't have that much money in an endowment, he thought, well, we'll just ask for 5. Instead of asking for 10, we'll ask for 5. And that's where the 5 come from. And what we also do is we want to make sure that these students are going where they want to go. Unlike Posse takes students in and tell them what schools they're a fit for. And they're PWIs, and most of them are in the north, kind of cold. Our kids here in Atlanta aren't really comfortable with the cold. But what we did is we said, listen, we know students, if they go to college and if they don't like where they want to be, they're not going to do anything. So what we did a little bit different than Posse is instead of telling the students where they're a fit, we allowed them to pick. We have 14 different HBCUs that we have partnered with for the last 10 years. Some of them are no longer with us, but I am proud to say that the very first one was Langston University, which is my alma mater. And we were the first ones that said yes to Mr. Ragland, and we have had an amazing relationship with them for the last 10 years. Well, we started with 5, but because of the kind of students we brought on campus and the students that have graduated, we pretty much can send as many students as we want to Langston University. And that's a shout out to President Smith, who's no longer there, but also just understanding the relationships that it takes to make sure that our students have what they need. So instead of 10, we asked for 5. And now that the HBCUs are starting to see the return of investment of just giving someone a full tuition scholarship and having those students supported from the time they get there to the time of graduate is allowing us to open up the doors for more students.
And I have had the opportunity over this will be the 4th year for the Scholarship Gala. Am I correct on this being the 4th year? Can you share what the Scholarship Gala is about and how successful it has been with students that have gone through and have graduated, and how the Scholarship Gala comes together for that?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do, and we tell our students, because our program is really about the support. And so when we think about the tuition scholarships that the students are getting, that funding is coming directly from the institutions. And so while we realize that, a lot of our students are first gen, their parents have never gone there, they don't really know the experience. And so, and financially, they don't have the funding. And so what we realized was that there's going to be an opportunity at some point where we have to help a kid get to school. We've got to help a student go to an internship, buy a ticket somewhere. And so we know that we needed to raise funds to be able to be that safety net for those students. And so we have 2 premier fundraisers that we do every year. We do an annual golf tournament, and we do the scholarship gala. And in that gala, what we do is not only do we celebrate our scholars that graduate that year, but we also raise funds so that we can continue to provide this service for deserving student leaders. It is a labor of love. It is something that Drew and I went to Langston's gala, and we thought, well, we can do this. And so for the last 4 years, we've been doing it. This year, we're going to do a little different because this is the 10th year. So we're going to add a little extra to it to recognize Drew for the hard work that he has done. And so just making sure that we can continue to support our underserved communities is really the whole purpose of everything that Five Strong does.
Can you also share about the Deidre Ragland Scholarship, as well as touch on about the volunteer awards that have been won recently?
Absolutely. One of the things that when Drew started this, his number one supporter was his older sister, Deidre Ragland, and she actually was his right hand. Unfortunately, she succumbed to breast cancer, and in honor of her, he created the Deidre Ragland Monahan Scholarship, and it's given to a senior 5 strong female every year, based off of their perseverance through that school year. Because what we realize is that sometimes a lot of our schools are in rural communities, and our kids are used to being in Atlanta. They're used to getting on MARTA. They're used to going to the mall. And so when you take a kid that has had that exposure, but then you take them to a rural community, that's a lot of adjusting that they need to do. And our students are doing it. They are going to college, they're getting involved, they're getting internships. And so each year at the gala, we recognize a senior female scholar that has shown great perseverance. They, of course, have to do an essay, but we want to make sure that not only do these students know that we see them, but that we want them to succeed. And so making and creating opportunities to bring funding is really something that we like to do. But we couldn't do this without our volunteers. I have to say that Drew and I are the only ones on staff that's paid. Everybody else is a volunteer. And for the last 10 years, we have had the best people that come out and support us. Not only do we do the gala, but all of our 5 strong scholars have to go through what we call college ready prep sessions. We do 8 of those. We just finished recruiting our 10th cohort last night. And so starting next Tuesday, February the 11th, the students will have to go through what we call college ready prep sessions. And they do 8 of those. And that they have to come out to Atlanta Metropolitan College from 6 to 8. We feed them. We bring people in to talk about what life is going to be like, because we tell them, listen, college is a different world. So we prepare them for that. And we couldn't do that without the volunteers. So Bobby, like board members like you, come out, give their time, help us support the students. And that's really how our organization has been able to sustain itself for 10 years because of our amazing volunteers.
I appreciate that. I would be remiss, of course, if I was saving it for later. But yes, you hit on it. I'm a proud board member of this organization. And last week, let me just say, Carolyn Hill works hard, tirelessly for this organization. Her and Drew do an outstanding job. And we do have, as she said, volunteers that help out. But Carolyn does a lot. And she's very reliable, very dependable. And she deserves to be commended for her efforts with this organization. Just last week, for example, for the first time, I was able to participate in interviewing some of the potential scholarship recipients. And it is very hard, very, very hard when you've got, 12, 14 outstanding young students that are all deserving. All are just, they're dressed nice. They are just well together. And you got to choose 5 out of that. You're splitting hairs, because they're all so deserving. And it's so hard to pick and choose because all of them deserve it. And they all did an outstanding job last week. So that's the kind of young people that are being impacted by this organization. I just wanted to make sure I threw that in. Rodney, I don't want to hog this. I mean, I'm sure you may have a question you want to ask Carolyn as well.
Well, actually, not a question, but more of a I wanted to know, and I don't think she mentioned it. As far as sponsorship, as far as the program is concerned.
So sponsorship is a big thing, and that's really a big push this year. This is our 10th year that we're celebrating, and one of my goals as the program director is to find a corporate sponsor here in Atlanta. We do have a sponsor that has sponsored our program for the last 10 years, and we Bobby definitely has sponsored some of our events, but we're looking for those solid partnerships. We're looking for those partnerships. For instance, when we do the gala, a lot of that funding comes from our budget, and we're looking for sponsors that will help us actually cover some of that cost. One of the things that we also do is we take our kids to visit their college campus. So for all of these 14 schools that we got, we'll take all those kids on campus. Some we rent a car or rent a van and we go down, but then there's others we have to drive because, as I mentioned, Langston University, which is in Oklahoma, is our first school, and we have a lot of scholars there. So if we have a student from Atlanta that needs to get to Oklahoma, that is a funding need as well. And so we are in desperate need of sponsorship, people who actually see the value that we are bringing and understand that we are changing lives. We really are. And I tell these students all the time, when I was in college, we didn't have this. Okay. We didn't have it.
Right.
So now to have this organization. And so that is supporting these students. And Rodney, it's not just while they're in college. We literally are partnering with organizations that are helping our students write resumes, get internships, become part of different fellowships. We have a partner that actually helps us get students into broadcast journalism positions because of the partnerships. Because when we look at our students, we look at them holistically. We realize that, they're getting the academic pieces, but sometimes they're not getting that professional piece that says, hey, when you go to an interview, you need to dress like this, or you need to present yourself like that. So we want to make sure that our scholars have every opportunity. So we are definitely looking for sponsorships. this year, and to find those organizations that can come in and kind of build that gap for our funding.
Well, we're going to definitely let, I'm sure, Bobby, we're going to definitely let potential sponsors who's listening to this know exactly how they can reach you and how they can get in contact you to do that. But I do have one more question, and that is, have you seen, Carolyn, have you guys seen like an uptick in from parents and from students? Have you guys kind of seen an uptick of people just wanting to reach out to you guys, your type of organization? Because, we talked about, of course, I know you was able to hear in the green room, we talked about, how the current administration and what's happening with HBCUs and that kind of thing. And so has there been an uptick in interest from parents and from students with your organization?
Listen, actually, when 47 made the announcement, we literally had students calling us saying that, hey, my work study job I've been let go. And
Wow.
so our students have actually been impacted by it already. And
Wow.
we work closely with the administrations at our HBCUs. And so we're trying to make sure if there's something that we can do. I'm an advocate for HBCUs. I mean, HBCU run through my veins. And one of the things that I have seen and I have said is that there are 107 or so HBCUs in our community. And it is time that we as a community support these HBCUs.
Yes.
There are more than enough churches here. There are more than enough minority programs, minority organizations that we've got to begin to support our own. We don't, right now he's saying he's not going to do it, but we don't know what he's going to do. But what we can't also do is we can't sit around and wait. And so I have a clarion call out to anybody that wants to get on a call. Let's talk about it, because we should be able to support our own. I tell people, alma mater means mother. And that's what these HBCUs have been. These HBCUs have been mothers to people whose mother couldn't do that. And it's time for us to take care of our mothers. And I do feel like at some point we got to realize that Superman's not coming to save us, and that we've got to save our own. And these schools, all 107 of them, and I know a lot of people don't know it's that many, but there are some amazing small institutions creating amazing individuals that are pouring in and giving back to our communities. And so it is a concern. It absolutely is a concern. And like I said, my clarion call is to anybody, let's figure it out. Let's create an organization. I say again, there's so many churches here. Churches should be dotted lines to HBCUs to make sure to fill that gap. But that's my wishful thinking. But it's a concern. It is absolutely a concern, because again, the students because our scholarship is just for tuition. They still have to pay room and board. But the beauty of our HBCUs is that they have money that students can get once they go to college. I tell my students, when you walk on that campus, you got a 4.0. What you do that first year will determine if you keep it. And if you keep that 4.0, there's money in that. And so
Yes.
and a lot of people don't, you'll hear people talk about, HBCUs don't have money. We got money. You just got to qualify for it. And that means that you have to do your work. And those are the kind of students that we got. We've got these students that are hungry. They want to go off because, again, a lot of our schools are in rural places, and that means that you've got to adjust. So I think it's definitely a concern. And I'm hoping that we can find a way as a community to begin to understand that we have to make sure that these institutions survive these next 4 years.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Carolyn, you've been outstanding. I just have one final request. Could you please share the website information so that those that are listening can go straight to the website and start donating or start volunteering?
Absolutely. You can reach us at www.5strongscholars.org. There is a donate button on there. You can also go and see our scholars. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is having outstanding students. So if you go on our website, you'll see our scholars, you'll see what they're doing. You'll see the golf tournament and the gala coming up. But again, our website is www.5strongscholars.org.
And Carolyn, what's the date for the gala?
The date for the gala is December 13th.
Got
So
it.
put it on your calendar, Rodney. Put it on your calendar.
Got it. Yes.
Locked in.
Put it on your calendar. So it's going to be really good. I think, to see where this organization started and to see where we're at now, it's mind blowing. But again, as people begin to understand, we have students who think that they're not college material. And as Caleb, one of our scholars, would say, who said I wasn't college material? And he's now a graduate. He's now working for an organization that he did an internship for the last 3 years. And so giving them the opportunity, giving them the support, and giving them the exposure is key. So thank you guys for having me here to be able to tell our story.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Thank you again, Carolyn, for coming on. And just so everybody knows too, the gala is a formal event. So we dress up nice. It's done classy. It's at a classy spot. We've had it the last several years. Again, this is the 4th year of the gala itself. Again, I just want to congratulate and thank you again, Carolyn, for all your hard work representing 5 Strong, an award-winning foundation, organization, nonprofit. I want to make sure we highlight that. They are an award-winning nonprofit organization. They have been recognized by the community for the work that they have been doing. I'm going to say they, even though I'm on the board, I'm going to say they, because yes, I understand. You're correct. You're correct. But I just want to highlight that. Thank you, Carolyn.
Welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you for being here.
Outstanding. Thank you. So, Rodney, we have covered two topics today that are leading into some big things that are going on here.
I think our Millennial Minute and our special guest is going to be a great segue into your hot topic, which is going to be a little bit about some DEI, which I know everybody now is probably tired of hearing those 3 letters, but yeah, I think it's a good segue, Bobby.
So we'll go into the hot topic as DEI first, and then we'll do a Civics 101 right after that. So DEI, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We know recently as the hot topic that has been a source of consternation, so to speak, amongst the far right. And for those that don't understand, DEI is not just about race. Okay. It's about the disabled. It's about gender, anything that qualifies as, I don't want to necessarily say a minority, but you can say that anything other than just being white male, straight white male.
Right.
Okay.
Cisgender white male.
Yes. Let's just be real about that. That's what it's really about. And what is more so disgusting recently is that we've had 2 aerial disasters that have taken place that are still under investigation. And before the bodies are even pulled out of the water from the unfortunate aerial disaster we had in DC, we have someone that is supposed to be the leader of the free world, someone that is supposed to be the leader of the country, setting an example. And the first thing he does is gaslight by making accusations about DEI and going all the way back to 2 administrations before him to blame. And the crazy thing about this is that those same initiatives were in place when you were in there the first time. You didn't make any changes. And so now for you to try to blame it on something with DEI and when you get people parroting the same thing out there, so here's what we're seeing. We got his cronies that are parroting the same thing that he said as though it is factual, and it's not. And then you have those of us that are saying, well, we're not really benefiting by it anyway. I know y'all seen that mostly white women have benefited from DEI. Okay. All I want to say on this is let's just look at this from this perspective. if we didn't have it in place, right? If we didn't have it in place, how much worse would it be? You think taking it away is going to help us? Is going to make it better? And I've heard how these things have worked. I've heard about white males starting a business and putting it in their wife's name, and they're taking advantage of it. Yep. I get it. I get all of that, right? But to think that, oh, it's not a big deal, take it away, they're going to do the right thing on their own. They don't need this in place, for us to move up. No, taking it away is not going to help us. All right. You see the agenda that's being laid forth right now. The accusations have already started, again, with no merit behind it whatsoever. You see how anything that happens, and you have people now that are questioning air travel. They're now second guessing. And so it doesn't take long to figure out if you have people that are now second guessing or afraid to fly, and the aviation industry is impacted by that, there's going to be a recession coming quick. Okay. Because this wasn't the case during the holidays. I'm going to tell you that right now. Holiday travel was full. The airports were full. Yep. Okay. Again, all this talk about the economy being so bad, it wasn't that bad when people didn't have any issue with getting out and traveling to where they need to go see family or to go on vacation. This was not an issue. All right. So all of a sudden, after you fire the FAA heads involved, and whether that's a reaction to Elon Musk involving anything with SpaceX or whatever the reason that there may be, we're going to go through this period again where it's always somebody else's fault and not yours. You have to pin it on someone else, instead of what your actions have taken place, because you're going to try to take credit for everything that's good and you're going to try to run away from everything that's bad. We're not going through this for 4 years, man. This is ridiculous. So I just want to make sure we put it out there. Like you have to at some point fight these lies. Stop listening to stuff and stop parroting the same thing that somebody else has said, that somebody else says, with things like, well, we weren't really benefiting by it, so let it go away. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. To take it away and think this is going to get better for us, especially. No, it doesn't. It doesn't benefit us by it going away. So don't fall prey to that nonsense. And I know I've covered a lot by saying that. So I want to get your perspective.
Yeah. So I hear you, Bobby. You got people. Well, I think I saw a stat where it was either 5% or 8% or something like that, where black people have benefited from DEI. Well, the way I look at it is we shouldn't. Like you're saying, there are black people saying, well, we didn't benefit from it anyway, so let it go, as if it's going to hurt those people, primarily white women, okay, mm-hmm. and primarily white men who were using their white women to, get those, get that DEI privilege of what you want to call it. Look, we have to almost have we almost have to have something in order to get us a even footing, or at least a perception of an even footing in this country. This country has never, and both you and I are veterans, and so you can come at us if you want to, but Bobby and Rodney got something for you, because chances are, if you're coming at us, you never wore the uniform of this country. But anyway, so that's why I don't bite my tongue with anything. But at the end of the day, is that we still need these programs, even though they usually benefit white women more than anybody else. It's the same with affirmative action, right? It was the same way. So I just think that that, Bobby, we are now seeing, everybody was afraid of, they talked about for years, the deep state, shadow government. Mm-hmm. Well, we're in it. Mm-hmm. We're in it. And you know what? The deep state is coming from somewhere where you thought it wasn't coming from. It is coming from right where, you looked and you say, well, wow, what happened? And I tell you what happened. What happened is everything that people talked about for the last 10, 15, 20 years, as far as deep state and as far as this shadow government, brother, is right on our doorstep. You're
right there on it, and I know I had a interruption there for a second.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, yeah. So, right, you're right there on it. I mean, you brought up the deep state. It's funny because I did hear that talked about today. Like all this talk about the deep state, the deep state, the deep state coming from the far right all these years, and it's like now we're living in it. And if there is a deep state, as you have claimed that there is coming from the far left, well, this is the time now for the deep state to step up, speak up, say something, do something. And I'm not suggesting violence. I'm just simply saying that this is the time that the deep state needs to speak up and say, we can't have this. Democracy, we've been warned about democracy being on the line. People voted how they voted or didn't vote at all. And we'll get into that later on. So we are facing right now the realities of something that wasn't hidden. This is nothing that was by surprise. I was stunned at the amount of people when you tried to tell them about Project 2025. Oh, they just saying that. Who writes a 900-page document? I probably said this in previous. Who writes a 900-page document, put it together, print it out, have it there for you to see, and think they're not going to implement it? It's that kind of ignorance where it's like, what are we doing? We got to stop, at some point and stop underestimating what these people are trying to do. They're laying it out right in front of you. It's not a secret. And everything right now that they're doing is going right by the playbook that they already laid out.
And we talked about it on this program, Bobby. Project 2025 was a document that probably started out the size of a pamphlet, and started and written by the Heritage Foundation. This thing did just come overnight. They may have just now started calling it Project 2025, as they saw that is the year. As they got closer, they've been doing this since the 80s.
Yes.
And early 80s. And it's like, okay, we can give this thing a name now. And they were able to name it that whole Project 2025 because they realized that, you know what? We have all the marbles, we have all the pieces in place to be able to do every single thing that we want to do with this now 900 and something page document. And this man has been in the White House for 2 weeks, and every single day, Bobby, we talked about it on here with Project 2025 with Agenda 47. We talked about it. We spotlighted it every single episode, and it has been 14 days of Project 2025, starting from the first 10 minutes of his administration, and even prior to that. But before we let the hot topic go and we get into the whole spotlight, Bobby, I want to say this because I think I've said it on every single a podcast that we do on this Black Man's Roundtable franchise, which is that local. And look, there's no other better podcast on in the franchise to say it on than this one, because it is called the Local Lookout. Local. And Bobby, what I mean by local, I'm talking about us as a people. Okay, we need to go back to our roots. We need to go back to what basically lifted us from, as soon as those shackles were taken off from chattel slavery, we understood, the importance of local in purchasing our purchasing power, but also local in politics. We know, Bobby, that the saying is all politics is local. It is absolutely true. So I think as a community, I really do think that we need to concentrate locally with our buying power and also with our politics.
100%. I can't disagree with anything you just said. And I think you made it pretty plain and clear on that as well. I want to go next into, as we close out the hot topic, I want to go into our Civics 101, which I have focused on birthright citizenship.
Okay.
So that's another thing. We've been flooded with so many things, and I know they've called it flooding the zone. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're inundating us with so much that they're trying to take away here, strip down there, so that you're when you're looking here, they're doing something else over here. So this is what they're doing. But I'm gonna talk about birthright citizenship and some questions that I got about it.
Sir.
So let's first focus on what the 14th Amendment is about, okay? Because this is what it pertains to. So The 14th Amendment covers 5 sections. All right. You got citizenship, state action, apportionment, disqualification for rebellion, debt, and the enforcement clause. All those things are covered in those 5 sections. But let me read out what the 14th Amendment says in Section 1. That's what we're going to focus on right now. Section 1 says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and, pay attention to this part, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. That first part that I read out to you about subject to the jurisdiction thereof, this is what the Trump lawyers are focusing on, okay? So here's what it says, or in terms of interpretation. Subject to the jurisdiction thereof means that a person is completely under the legal authority of a particular government, implying that they owe full allegiance to that government and are subject to its laws, with key exceptions like children of foreign diplomats, who are not considered subject to the jurisdiction, even if born within the country's territory. I'm going to give you an example of that in just a second. This phrase is most commonly found in the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution regarding citizenship by birth. So, and this was kind of an AI summary of this. So, full allegiance, it signifies that a person is not subject to any other foreign power and owes their primary allegiance to the governing jurisdiction. Exceptions exist. Children born of foreign diplomats are typically not considered subject to jurisdiction due to diplomatic immunity. So in law, in the court system, courts have often used this phrase to determine who is eligible for citizenship based on where they were born. Now, here's where the hypocrisy comes in that I see with people that are talking about this. Barack Obama won in 2008 running against John McCain. John McCain was not born in the United States.
That's right.
Okay. Nobody had an issue with it then. And I didn't have an issue with it myself, but I'm just talking about the hypocrisy because everything was about, well, was Barack Obama really born here? Was he really born in Kenya? All these conspiracy theories, and people acted like they forgot that Hawaii was the 50th state. All right. So here we are now, all of a sudden, and we're discussing this again. So birthright citizenship the United States employs a combination of unrestricted birthplace-based citizenship, or jus soli, granting citizenship to anyone born on U.S. soil regardless of their parents' status, as in if they were here legally or illegally. They were born here in the United States, they were considered to be citizens, with exceptions like children of foreign diplomats, as we talked about before. So if you have a foreign diplomat who was sent over, or an ambassador or something, he's sent over to a foreign country, and you and your family, they happen to have a child that's born over there, they're still considered a naturalized citizen. And then you had restricted ancestry-based citizenship, which is called jus sanguinis, extending citizenship to children born abroad to U.S. citizens, provided statutory requirements are met. So now we have, again, and this is what will hopefully hold up in the court system, because we can't even trust what our Supreme Court may do at this point, or what an appellate court may say or do. It's a shame that we're in this predicament. But all of a sudden now, there's a challenge to birthright citizenship, which an executive order cannot override. Okay, knowing how this works, this has to go through Congress, and it has to be ratified by the states to have this being somehow enforced, to interpretation by someone else. You can't just come in and by the stroke of a pen say, this is our definition of it now. No, it doesn't work that way. But again, we can't trust what the courts may say should it go to the Supreme Court, where we've got a stacked court, as we know, of Donald Trump appointees. So this is what we're facing right now in this country. We're facing a constitutional crisis, And all this stuff was forewarned before we got to now.
And everything that I've been seeing so far, even prior to the election in January, on January the 20th, but basically, since those results started coming in, back in November of last year, I would say this, and that is, in my opinion, it is as if, you know what, the current administration is purposely trying to put this country in a place where we have a constitutional crisis. Because, as I talked about, Bobby, all politics is local. And, it takes, what is it, 3/5 of the states or whatever. I think it's like 35 states or something like that, in order to, in order to ratify,
Right.
The Constitution. And let me tell you something. When we talk about, state assembly, state houses, and that kind of thing, that is very, very important. I don't know off the top of my head, how many state houses that falls into the Republican side, which is the current administration side of politics right now. But I tell you what, it can't be too far off, and they know it. So, that's what I've seen, man, over the past couple of months. Again, past few months, again, because like I said, I was seeing it prior to January the 20th, that Donald Trump is literally, in my opinion, trying to throw this country into a constitutional crisis. And that is why we are just seeing every single day, we're seeing so much when you get up. I mean, and it's like we're going to just throw it at them, throw it at them, throw it at them, throw it at them. And so I wouldn't be surprised, man, if by the end of this calendar year that that there is not total chaos, in the Congress under that dome.
You just mentioned something before we move off of this. You just mentioned something again that falls back to local.
Yep.
What you just said, as far as on the state level, on how you vote and who's representing us in the state, this is how things can change. And we've got to stop with the excuses, stop with the ignorance of my vote doesn't matter or it don't count. They're going to do what they want. And then you don't realize how the game is being played. We have to stop this. We've got to figure out a way to educate more voters. And by the way, you and I have said this numerous times. We have never told you how you should vote. Okay?
Yep.
All we're saying is you should at least educate yourself to at least look and see who's doing what, who's passing what. All right. Who's introducing what bills. All right. And decide for yourself. All right. It's clear to me. And I laugh at times, sadly, when people say we need a third party. We've got third parties. We've got third parties that are out there. The problem is like when we say this, is like there's a Libertarian Party. There's the Independents. There's the Green Party. There's third parties out there. But again, they don't have the money. Okay.
And Bobby, you know what? I'm gonna tell you like this. We have third parties, like you're saying, but like you're saying, people always want to throw up third parties. But listen, here's the deal: the largest, and I say this every chance I get, the largest voting bloc that we have in America is the non-voter. I know you say, well, how is that a voting bloc when they don't vote? You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And so look, stop talking about third party and get your 33% tail up off your doggone rear end. And that's the third party is the non-voter. And but before we get off Civics 101, Bobby, because you know how seriously we take civics, and that's why we even have it as a segment here, on the local lookout with Rodney and Bobby. And so listen, here's the deal. All right, straight up and down, our country is called, and I hope this helps with understanding why I keep saying local. Our country is called the United States of America, and I put the emphasis on states, right? So the United States almost have like 50 little separate countries, all right, that kind of run themselves, with basically contributing funds and contributing money, to the federal government, and the federal government kind of redistributing that money, primarily taking their money from a whole bunch of very, very rich blue states and giving that money back to a whole bunch of very, very poor red states. Now, but with that being said, the reason I keep saying local, 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 we are called the United States of America. Here's a perfect example of how local things are in the United States. So, I think Trump tried to do the deal with the tariffs for Canada, right? And so, putting the tariff on Canada, Trudeau, the prime minister of Canada was like, okay, hold my beer, because here's what we're about to do. He ordered the country to take stuff off the shelves. And yes, I know that Canada does have these provinces, but provinces are quite different from states, okay? And Trudeau said, hey, take this stuff off the counters, take all of their whiskey that's come from Kentucky and all these other places. And guess what? The entire country did that. Because that is a true country in and of itself, just like European countries. Is a prime minister, a president says it, that's what it is. Understand something, guys, that look, we are the United States of America. If Donald Trump were to say, here's what we're going to do in the United States, you know what? California going to say, nope, hold my beer. We're not doing that. So understand, I hope that helps you understand. I know you might say, well, we didn't need to know that. We know that. But look, there are some people who don't know that. That's why it's called Civics 101. Okay. Understand that is how important local elections are. And when we say local, when Bobby and I say local on this platform, we're talking about state down to your counties, down to your cities, down to your neighborhood, down to your HOA, your homeowner association. So, I just wanted to get that in there, Bobby, before we get out of Civics 101.
Man, you're right there on it. I know we're speaking from the same language in what we say here. I want to make this one final point, and we'll move off of Civics 101. It just hit me again about Section 3. I just want to read this real fast. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States, or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may by a vote of 2/3 of each house remove such disability. So again, the power to remove is still sitting in Congress. But we know, and we've already seen, that the Congress that we have elected, unfortunately, does not have the gumption to do the right thing. That's been proven over and over and over again. So again, elections have consequences. Your vote matters. And this is FAFO mode. We know what that means. So there's going to be, as he's now saying, there's going to be some pain. Okay. And that pain is self-inflicted. And I've said numerous times, Rome was not destroyed by an outside force. Rome imploded. Empires implode. Okay. That's right. And you want to voluntarily do this to yourself, United States? Well, that's what we're doing. I hate to say we, but yeah, that's what we're doing. Because those of us that tried to tell you, you're seeing it firsthand, and you can ignore it all you want to. You can try to fence ride and say, well, I voted third party. I voted for another party. You're still part of the problem because you're not taking your vote serious. So this kind of blends into my final point on the spotlight. We have been inundated, and Rodney, I hope I didn't cut you off on anything else on Civics 101.
No. I was about to say,
okay.
I know in the whole spotlight, you wanted to talk about, black voters and stuff. So,
yes.
Go right ahead.
I wanted people to really, as we go forward from this point on, I know in 2 years we'll have midterms, and it can't get here fast enough for me. but there has to be real change. And then there's all kind of questions about what's really happening behind the scenes. But one of the things that I wanted to hit on is right now, they're doing what's called flooding the zone. Again, as I mentioned this earlier, they're doing so many things right now that you're having to, keep your head on the swivel to see what's next, what they're doing. There's so much stuff all over the place. So we've seen USAID get defunded. The sovereign wealth fund that Trump is talking about, maybe buying TikTok. We've got FBI agents suing the DOJ because they're being basically almost forced to quit their jobs for really just doing the work of the American people. And we as black people can talk all day long about how the FBI has screwed us. But this is solely because they did an investigation on things that he was doing. All right. This has nothing to do with anything more than that, other than him trying to get some type of payback against those that were investigating him on things that he was doing. We're talking about now penal colonies, where El Salvador is saying, hey, we'll take in your worst for a fee. And people don't realize, like, even in this trade war and how some people are claiming how Trump won the, which is a joke, how he won this tariff threat against Canada and Mexico. People don't realize, man, if you're a one-trick pony, okay, and these world leaders aren't stupid, okay, you can't keep going and playing the same thing. They're gonna figure out, man, this guy, man, you know what I mean? It's like they're gonna realize he can be had, all right, and that's what people don't understand. People that are falling for this crap about thinking he's so smart and doing this and that. No, we've removed ourselves from the World Health Organization. Meanwhile, you've got a rising avian flu, bird flu going on, which is affecting the chickens that we have with the eggs, and which is causing the egg prices to skyrocket. And then you've got a growing tuberculosis issue happening in Kansas right now. So you trusted him after he bungled the last pandemic that we were in. You're going to trust him now to handle this, and now we're moving away from the World Health Organization with all this kind of stuff. He's putting us at risk in just about everything, okay, that you can think of. And for anyone, having talked about the fact Waffle House adding 50 cents now, on their menu for eggs. Now, here's what's funny about that. They've made it seem as though, like, well, this is temporary, right? This is temporary until things get back. Man, let me ask you something. What corporation do you know, if you're making more in profits because of a price that you set on items or what have you, if you're making more in profitability, what makes you think they're going to go back? Okay. They'll tell you it's 50 cents now, and then you won't realize it. It'll just be the price. It'll just be fed into the price soon. Okay. That's how this works. This is capitalism, baby. All right. This is what we live under. And I can't understand how you live through a pandemic and people don't understand the disruption in the supply chains, what that does to what we pay. Same thing with tariffs. All this stuff now, you add more tariffs to China. Walk into Walmart. Y'all know what's happening in Walmart. Y'all know how much electronics we get from them and all this stuff you got sitting in your home that you done bought from Walmart or any other or place of that you go shop. That stuff has come from there. And so all these tariffs going to do is raise those prices. They're going to pass that along to consumers just like they always have and always will do. And then everybody was sitting around talking about how bad the economy is and how, oh man, the cost of eggs and so on and so forth. And don't realize, man, this is all you had to do was look at places like fast food when the pandemic was going on and afterward, how much those prices went up. They don't bring those prices back down. Well, I mean, the cost of lumber when you're interrupted, and by the way, we mentioned Canada. Canada sends us a lot of lumber. We don't make all our cars here just by American parts. We got parts that come over from Canada and other places, or all these other different trade deals we got on. And didn't he just renegotiate NAFTA when he was in here last time? Yep. And now you want to sit here and threaten tariffs on those our allies? What's he doing to our relationship around the world with our allies by getting into a trade war with tariffs? It's so much idiocy going on right now. And then you have people that don't understand because they're trying to justify their vote by somehow either being quiet or making it seem as though like, oh, he knows what he's doing. No, he doesn't really know what he's doing, because y'all were talking about so much worry about the economy. that we're headed to a recession at the rate that he's going. That's what we're headed to. Okay. I just mentioned again about the air travel. You know, when you get people that are afraid to fly or just aren't sure, and suddenly people start traveling less, and then you see what the cost is at the grocery store. I don't know why people even bring up gas prices. I don't know why you bring that up, because the president doesn't control it. They never have. They never will. And all this talk about gas prices, that has nothing to do with the president of the United States. That is done overseas with OPEC and oil speculators on the cost of a barrel of oil. It's got nothing to do with what the president of the United States says or does. And I don't know why people don't just take the time to educate themselves on things like that. So I want to, before I go into my final rant, get your thoughts on what's been said.
Yeah, so that's a lot, Bobby. Look, so
I had a lot to get off my chest, bro.
yeah, oh, I know. And but look, you know, what we try to do more with this, especially with this show, more than any of the other shows, we try to educate. You know, because everything is so, we know that education starts at the local level, you know, and so yeah, so it's a lot of times on this on this platform, it is a lot of getting off the chest. But I want to go back to something when we talked about the 14th Amendment. There was a word in the 14th Amendment that is not there by mistake, and that word is debt. Okay. I've often said that, you know, that that debt is a form of slavery, right? And they're not called indentured servants for no reason.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? And so, look, by design, okay, when I was looking today at the prices of food, the prices of eggs, and the prices of, Kamala Harris talked a lot about price gouging. She talked a lot about that. And you know what? All these people on all these networks was like, well, that's some temporary stuff. That's not policy, blah, 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 blah. Well, look, these prices of eggs right now are being straight up price gouged, right? And they're not coming back down. And I was reading something today, like where it says, hey, these food prices are going to continue to go up. They're going to go up, go up, go up. But guess what? Your wages are not going to go up. It's going to take many, many years for your wages to catch up with the price gouging that is going on right now, and that's going to go on for the next 4 years. And and so that's what I keep saying. That's what I'm talking about, Bobby, when I'm talking about the debt. Keeping people, if you think that people are not interested in voting right now, you know, people say, well, if you keep on doing this with the economy, then there's going to be a groundswell of people that's going to go out and vote. Well, there is a triangle, a thing out there called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the bottom line is, until at the very bottom of that triangle is, you know, your basic needs of life, food, shelter, clothing, that kind of thing. And at the very top is self-actualization, right? Look, I guarantee you that look, they know, these billionaires, these multi-billionaires, they know that, look, if you keep people always trying to figure out how they're going to feed themselves, clothe themselves, and that kind of thing, the very basic needs of life, you know, and they're not even concerned about, you know, love, self-love, love from others, and some of those other triangles that's in between, self-actualization, which is at the top. Not only will they never have an opportunity to self-actualize, but guess what? They're not, look, when your stomach is growling, you're not trying to get a voter registration card. You know what I'm saying, Bob? You are absolutely in a place where you are just trying to survive. And I think that by design, this is where these people are trying to put us, these billionaires. And so when you talked about, last thing I'll say about it, when you talked about the midterms and that, hey, and that this thing needs to really just almost speed through, you know, Bobby, look, it's going to take the same amount of time, no matter what, right? As far as, you know, hours, minutes, days, months, for us to get to the midterms. There's a part of me, brother, that that almost wishes that it will just be a slow burn, just a slow burn until we get to those midterms, because I think that if we get, it's like right now, this guy has been in the White House. This administration has been in the White House for, just a little over 2 weeks or whatever. And it seemed like 2 years.
Yep.
Brother,
Already.
I hope it stays that way all the way throughout, because I really do think that when we talk about woke, I really do think that the American people have been so asleep that we have been in deep REM, rapid eye movement sleep, where you dreaming and just having the best time of your life. That's the best sleep in the world, REM sleep. And I just believe we've been there so long that Bobby, in order for us to be woke, I think it needs to be the slowest burn in the world to get us to these midterms. And I guarantee you, people will stand in lines like they at a Beyonce or a Taylor Swift concert. I bet you they won't play around no more, because like you said, we in the FO stage right now.
Absolutely. And you nailed it again. It is the pain that people will go through is the part that bothers me the most.
Yes.
I know we have the fortitude to withstand it and fight through it. However, there are those of us that don't have the same amount of strength.
Yes.
And I've been saying for the longest.
And Bobby, that's why I keep talking about community. Us coming together, doing the things that we used to do, because that's what is really going to take. But I definitely feel you, about how it really going to affect, some people. But I tell you, Bobby, not to cut you off, but I tell you, if we get there too quick, we just got to come back together as a community. You keep hearing me talk about that.
Yep.
If we get there too quick, this guy will get a third term. This guy will be there until he dies. So but go ahead, Bobby. I just wanted to, I do feel, I want for the audience to know, I definitely, because Bobby, you and I, how we are when it come down to the empathy and the sympathy for our people, but being military guys, we also know some things just have to take place. Yep. And look, it's been said that, look, the difference between a moment and a movement, sacrifices have to be made. Not so much in a movement. In a moment.
That's right.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bobby.
No. Hey, listen, my mother said it best. She said sometimes God needs to lift the veil, lift the blanket up and show you. That's what's happening right now. That's my spiritual side kicks in. So when people say this, God's going to handle it, I know God's going to handle it. I'm just telling you what's happening. Okay, I'm just watching him do his work and watching all these people that claim to have the same faith fall by the wayside. You just watch it. It's like watching a train wreck, it's like watching a car wreck that's happening in slow motion. That's where we're headed. And it's all self-inflicted. And I've been saying for years, I don't know if I've said it on Black Men's Roundtable, but I've been saying this for years. Poor rural whites out there in these rural areas, you've been giving away your vote to the Republican Party for decades. They don't have to offer you anything. That's why I got tired. I got angry when I hear people say, well, the Democrats keep offering this, they don't do nothing. And I would just turn around and ask the same question. Why do you poor rural whites continue to give your vote to Republicans and they have policies that do not help you? Trickle-down economics has never helped your pockets. It's never done it. So it's like at some point when people realize this, again, not saying which party is perfect, because neither one of them are. But if you don't pay attention to what's going on, look right now. I'm gonna get to our closing on this. Look right now, okay? How quickly they passed the Lake and Riley Act. All right, quickly. How long has the George Floyd bill been sitting out there? I know it was introduced when the Democrats had control of the House. And I know it died in the Senate, but it passed with 0 Republican votes out of the House. And I'm talking about not just the George Floyd Act, but also the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Neither one of them have gotten passed. We don't say anything. This is what I'm getting to here about us taking our votes seriously, right? And paying attention. They just passed that Lake and Riley Act just like that. Yep. But then we don't ask any questions, or those that don't pay attention, you don't ask any questions about, well, why hasn't the George Floyd bill been passed? Why hasn't the John Lewis voting rights bill been passed. What's the holdup? Don't even look any deeper than that. We got to learn to take our vote more serious, right? And stop with the excuses and those that are non-voters. Let's just look at a couple things here before we go. The people that were so adamant about, I'm not going to vote for an administration that supports genocide over in Gaza, right? In Israel and funding Ukraine, right? Meanwhile, you got Trump saying that Palestinians just going to have to leave. They're going to have to leave. They really don't have much of a choice but to leave. What? Silence. I don't hear nothing. I've said this on here numerous times. I'm going to say it again. I don't hear our people talking anything about the atrocities that are going on in Haiti. All right. We got a humanitarian crisis going on in Haiti. You got the same thing going on in the Sudan. You got the same thing going on in the Congo, right? Genocide. You got people starving. You got disease taking over. You got women that are being sexually assaulted. You got all these atrocities that are going on, and we're saying nothing. If you took that same stance with your vote this fall regarding what's happening in Gaza, this is not to belittle the people of Palestine. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm simply saying to our people, where is your same energy? You're not talking about these atrocities at all. Haiti is a poor country. When we talk about like the Congo, you know how rich that country is in resources, like with microchips. That you know, there's all kind of resources that are there that people want to get their hands on. We're saying nothing. There's no energy. Where's that same energy that you brought for your vote? That's what I'm talking about, being consistent. It can't take you serious if that's the only time you bring it up is 4 years later when it's time to vote. And then here's who you're not hearing from. Where's Jill Stein? All y'all that voted for Jill Stein. I'm a protest vote. I'm gonna vote for Jill Stein. Ain't no Green Party making no laws. There's nobody in Congress. I don't know anybody on the state level representing the Green Party, right? Libertarians, right? There's one libertarian I found in Congress, and he's not even there anymore. Out of Michigan. I forgot his name. Out of Michigan. They're not making laws. This goes back to what I was saying before. You can choose and critique all you want to, but it's going to be either a Republican or a Democrat running this country because it's been that way since the 1800s.
Yep.
You're going to have to choose one or the other. So you either need to get involved with one of them and make it what you think it should be by getting active and by exercising your vote. If there's somebody in there that's not doing what you elected them to do, vote them out. It's that simple. Vote them out. But this non-participation stuff and making excuses and, oh, they never did nothing and this one ain't never did. You're allowing yourself to be manipulated and you're allowing yourself not to count. Where's Dr. Cornel West? Where's the Blacks for Trump people? You know, the one guy used to always see at them rallies. They'd always put him up front, right there with the Blacks for Trump. First of all, black people don't have no organization called Blacks for anything.
Nope.
That's insulting, right? And then I know we had the one brother that had the N words for Trump when Trump got his mug shot. You know, I don't even want to bring up his name, but it was somebody that was doing that. Where's, Kanye West? All the people that gave away your vote to Kanye West last time. What's Kanye saying about this? Anything? Anything of substance? We got to stop playing around with our vote, man, and start taking this stuff serious. Because when we do, right, and we can celebrate Dr. King and we can celebrate the greatness of Malcolm X and all these other civil rights leaders. We can celebrate how great they were, but they had gumption, they had strength, they had heart. They stood, they faced the lion's den. They didn't take no easy routes, you know. So if we're going to respect them, especially when we talk about Black History Month, if we're going to respect them. This is our time. This is when you got to stand up and speak out and do something, and stop with this nonsense. Stop parroting the same mess on social media. You heard somebody said, do some research for yourself. You know, everybody now, if you're making excuses, if you didn't vote, or if you say, oh, I didn't know, you mentioned it before, and I'll be quiet. You mentioned this before. Vice President Harris laid out a policy agenda, laid it out. You didn't want it. For whatever your reasons were, you focused on all this other stuff, distractions, worried about all the things that didn't matter as to the importance of this election. And you're seeing the effects of it right now. So I just want to bring it up. Be serious about our vote from this point forward. I thought we proved that actually in 2020 with the results of the election. Then we fell back in 2024 into the same nonsense. And again, we've talked about this before. This election was not on us. Again, black people voted, and there's no demographic that you can point to that had the percentage and the numbers that we had on how we voted. 92%. For nobody else.
92%.
For nobody else.
That's right. 92%. And that's what I keep saying. If somebody hears somebody say something silly, I just say 92%. And who really need to hear that clarion call of 92% is the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. Because look, at the end of the day, some of those beautiful countries that you named, Bobby, from Haiti to the Congo, that are having all of these issues right now. And what I want for the Democratic Party to understand is this right here. And that is that, you know what? Yeah, some of the, some of the old heads, if that's what you want to call them, the baby boomers and that kind of thing. You know what? A lot of times, they're raised in different times, saw different things. But what I want for the Democratic Party to understand is that, a lot of people sat this one out. And, black people are the base of the Democratic Party, bar none, point blank. Period. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing you can do without us. And what I'm saying is this, is that, you know what? People from our generation, Bobby, from the Generation Xers down, the millennials, the centennials, and, Y generation, whatever, let me tell you something. Those people, those black people are paying attention to what's happening in the Congo, what's happening in Haiti. Democrats, you cannot talk about it all you want. You can pass these bills, like you talked about, Bobby, and you can ignore. Look, from Generation X again on down, I promise you, George Floyd, those things are being looked at. And you know what? This is the kind of thing that hurts the party. No, you want to walk around here and you want to pander to, a bunch of, Republicans who may be looking like they're, being nice or playing nice. And you want to, walk around with them and ignore, black people in this party. I'm going to just say it straight up. Black people in this party, and you're going to have a price to pay for it. So, but look, good segment, Bobby. I'm glad you were able to, because I know this stuff has been pent up with you, brother. I know how you get, and so yeah. I think you have what, Bobby? You have one. Was that it, or you had? That was the last segment, right?
We covered all.
We covered everything. Yes, yeah. So,
one other thing, as we leave out of here. That happened recently with Trump was that he bombed some alleged terror targets in Somalia. Okay, nobody said anything. He's bragged that he found some targets there that were part of some terrorist groups. Bombed them, bragged about it, and again, can't trust what he says. Right. And then he also brings up in South Africa about how farmers are being mistreated there and their land being stolen. Again, we know who he's talking about. Okay. Exactly. He's talking about white farmers.
Exactly.
And so we've got all of these signs that are out there. And I just wish we would pay more attention and realize these are the things that's going on, but also realizing the power in how we vote, what we stand up for. We can't just have a couple of people like Jasmine Crockett who is giving it to them.
Giving it.
Okay. Don't let her be out here by herself doing this. And this is something disappointing. I know.
Yep, they're gonna let her out there by herself.
That's what's happening. So my props to her because she has been consistent in this battle. So it's things like that. But I just want to make sure that we're aware of those things that's going on.
And like I said, I want to reiterate that, look, on this platform, especially when we're talking about our community, we definitely have, sympathy and empathy for our people. Do not misinterpret that or anything. But Bobby and I, we are military veterans. We are tough guys, and we think sometimes that, you know what, our community even need to go sometimes through some toughness in order to get to where we need to be. But look, I don't have a whole lot of I have sympathy, but I don't have a whole lot of time for people outside of our community who had these high numbers of voting against their best interests. I'm listening to all those, people of Venezuelan, I believe, nationality, scream and holler down in Florida and everything. Listen, ever since Reconstruction, Black people have tried to warn everybody else of what is happening. Listen, we are going to look, when America get the flu, Black America get COVID. But I can tell you this right here. We're definitely not immune to it. But you know what? We've been there before.
Yeah.
And I hope that you, people outside of our community, I hope that you can make it through this flu season, COVID season, whatever your community get from what this administration going to dish out. I hope that you can make it through like we will, because we will. And we will pull it together. And I have to say that because this is the Black Man's Roundtable. And I just want us to know that, hey, local, pull it together, come together. We have to be a community to get through the crap that's about to come our way. We think we've seen something in 14 days. We got a whole lot of more days to go.
And they flooding the zone, like we said. They're flooding the zone. So I just wanted to try to touch on as many things tonight. And I'm sure by next month, it'll be even more to talk, touch on if we can. So
yes, sir.
I want to thank you again for a great show.
Absolutely, Bobby.
Definitely
wrap it up and close
you.
it out, bro. I definitely appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Listen, I just want to again remind everyone to catch the local lookout with Rodney and Bobby the first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. First Thursday of every month, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until the next time, we'll be on the lookout. We'll holler at you. Thank you for your time.
Peace, Bobby. Talk to you later, brother.
Later.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have show ideas or want to be on the show? Shoot us an email at blackmansroundtable@gmail.com. And please follow us on Facebook.
1